South Korea, I talked about, Ukraine, okay, and that crisis the country is going through. But this is the country, I think, South Korea is one of the most advanced economies in the world. Everybody was talking about how South Korea was going to be one of the most important countries in the future. South Korea would take over the world. And it kind of had. The music has, the phones have, the cars have, the technology has. But without people, can South Korea cannot exist. Okay? And that is a fact. And no matter where you go, people from South Korea, even if they move to other countries, they bring the very low birth rates with them. So, this is something that we're gonna talk about in this video. And maybe we'll talk about Latin America and the rest of the Eastern Europe as well. Because if you think about Eastern Europe and Latin America have very similar tales. Very similar tales when it comes to population. Okay, it is actually shockingly very similar. But South Korea has a birth crisis. We all know they do. Like everyone was talking about Japan. Japan's birth crisis. Okay, Japan, there's ghost towns. People are not having kids in Japan because Japan, like 99% of Japan, with an 90% of Japanese live in urban areas, and you know, but Korea, you know, this is not good numbers for Korea, birth numbers. Okay, the president is gonna tackle it here, but I think if Korea wants to fix the birth rate, I have several solutions. At least solutions I can. First of all, in schools, when kids are the most impressionable, instead of teaching the importance of atheism and importance of science and stuff, teach kids about the importance of family, the importance of faith. Okay, I think the reason why birth rates have plummeted so badly is because a lot of people don't have faith anymore. They don't believe in the future or blah blah blah, and especially teach them to have kids out of fear of the North Korea. Okay, I think that's like the best option out of them all because Korea is not a very religious society. But teach them about, hey, Korea won't exist and North Korea will basically take over the country. I know it's fear mongering, but it works. It works with one other country, Israel. Okay, the reason why Israel's birth rate is so high, okay, despite it being one of the most liberal and urbanized societies in the world, is basically the government and schools fearmonger children, basically about, if Israelis don't have kids, their country will cease to exist and be destroyed by the surrounding countries. Okay, North Korea, if as you all know, is a very hostile and dangerous country. And if there's no one in there in South Korea, okay, I know South Korea could just develop nuclear weapons or nuclear weapon deterrence, which I think they're probably gonna do in the future. The defenses against nuclear weapons like Israel has. Okay, basically say, hey, if people refuse to have kids in South Korea, we're gonna eventually have less people than North Korea, and North Korea, they can easily take over the South. Easily take over South Korea. Okay, that is a very because those types of tactics have worked in Israel. To keep Israel's birth rate, high for a developed Western country. Of course, Israel's birth rate has still fallen from 3 to 2.7, but for now, it has worked. It has worked to keep the Israelis, having kids. Okay, same thing with the far right is using conspiracy theories to increase the birth rate. I think it is working with the far right. The far right, I think, has the highest birth rate in the Western world. Okay, which is very interesting to see that the far left has no babies and the far right have the most. Okay, I think they start with the nationalist groups first, like in the West, because Korea and East Asia are very nationalistic societies. And, obviously, you can even put fear of China Of course, China, they're going to have their own population crisis they have to face. But fear of Chinese influence and Chinese, everything. Fear of North Korea and China and Russia. Three countries that are very close to South Korea and one that borders South Korea. And you effectively could have a Israeli situation basically say, hey, teach them in the schools that, hey, if you don't, and of course teach them through parenting and stuff, hey, media, hey, if you don't have kids, North Korea will take over. You know, basically start. And yes, I am not very for indoctrination. I feel kids should believe whatever they want, but if this crisis is this bad, I think there is 100% the government should take over the news networks, the media, and basically push an agenda because I think that's what they're trying to do. So the president wants to basically create a ministry above, and basically before that, Korea had all this propaganda. Having two kids is too many. You have to have one kid. You know, and underscores the time bomb that many countries are facing. You know, however, I have shied away from mass migration and tackle the decline. And Japan was not on the brink of facing for social functions, and also is doing a similar thing here. Experts and residents have pointed out some deeper social issues. For instance, it gets blah 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 blah. But it seems that Korea, okay, I think the worst thing for Korea to do is to go woke. Because if Korea goes woke, I think they're begging Korea to go woke. This is CNN. Not too surprising. Korea's done for. Because woke people have the lowest birth rate. Okay, do you see AOC having any kids? Nope, we don't. Okay, that's probably why Latin America. Okay, I mentioned Latin America in the last video. That's probably why Latin America's birth rate is so low. Because Latin America has among some of the wokest countries in the world, like Brazil, Argentina. A lot of Latin American countries are surprisingly very liberal. Okay, you think with countries that are lesser developed, than the U.S. or Western countries, that you would think that basically the countries would be more conservative because they're poor. Okay, usually poor areas more rural areas are more conservative, but you'll be shocked by the liberalness of Latin America. You'll be shocked by it. Okay, but the thing is, Korea is still a very conservative society. Okay, I think the problem is the country has really incentivized many young people to not have kids. But I think what they could do, it's gonna take a while. It's still a lot of people are still the population is still gonna fall. Is that basically they can basically reverse this and put out propaganda by media, schools, and stuff, basically telling, hey, have kids, or else Korea won't exist. It is very simple. I think more countries I think that's what Orban should have done. Okay, have child tax credits as well, like Hungary did, but also teach them when they're young. And I'm surprised no one, besides the Israeli government, has came to the solution that I have came to. Okay, it's obvious because kids are very impressible. Okay, you can teach kids very important values while they're young. Of course, they may rebel in the future, but it is probably the easiest and most effective way to fix this problem. And basically show them, hey, the birth numbers have gone down. Show them the data. Okay? And hey, in the future, as well, I know in like the Western countries, there was a big problem, with young men going into relationships. And I think that's a problem that we need to solve as well. Try to get young men to be more into relationships instead of, not doing anything. I know I'm not really helping the case that much because I have never had a relationship. I've had friends, but I have never had an actual relationship. I'm sorry. Maybe I better enjoy my lonesome. But again, there's a lot of people on YouTube that are like me, so, whatever. But, who even say, oh, I don't even have friends. But hey, the 72 people who subscribe to this channel are my friends, so I consider that a win. So, yeah. But Korea, this is a big problem Korea is gonna face in the future. Okay, Korea's situation is worse than any other country in the world. Besides maybe Singapore, but Singapore receives a huge chunk of immigration. Okay, from Malaysia and Indonesia and China and India. Okay, Singapore. Anyone can move to Singapore. It's very easy. Actually, it's not actually easy to move to Singapore. Mostly rich people move to Singapore. Okay, but it's not just Korea that's having these problems of below one birth rates. Latin America is soon reaching this level. Okay, like Puerto Rico. Okay, the Puerto Rican birth rate is like 0.8 or 0.7. I know Puerto Rico is not a country, but this is still very bad, and it's a telling sign for the future of Latin America that they're going to end up like South Korea. Okay, they're going to end up like South Korea. Of course, I can't really find numbers for like birth rates between people on Puerto Rico and people in the U.S., but I think Latin America is definitely gonna, say for the Balkans, for a short while, they're gonna encourage re-immigration from countries. Because, hey, we have this massive diaspora outside of our countries, and we can get people to come in. Say for Korea. Korea does have a massive diaspora, around 5 to 10 million. Of course, no one's gonna move to North Korea, so that is, no, I think it's around 5 million people from Korea outside of US, South Korea, which means for a small time being, while Korea raises its birth rate up, they could encourage diaspora people to move to South Korea. Okay, giving them benefits because they're Korean, And I won't be surprised if Latin America does the same thing as well. Balkan countries do the same thing as well. While they figure out a problem to solve the birth rates, because but yeah, Puerto Rico is very, very, okay, very low. Okay, 0.91 for Puerto Rico, but Korea's I think is even lower. Okay, but it's not just Korea that's facing this problem. Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and Singapore. Okay, but three of those are cities as well, and also in Puerto Rico. Okay, and China probably at this point too. Yeah. Do they have one? Is there ones for Chile? Because Chile is near that number too. So Chile, is gonna disappear. Oh, you don't have one for Chile. So Chile is at 1.25. But I heard from more recent data it has gone down even further. Okay. It's time to get off of Twitter. But yes, South Korea. It was nice knowing you, okay? But this crisis is going to be very, very bad for Korea. Nothing like the world has ever seen before, okay? And I think Asia, East Asia, and Eastern Europe may be the first countries to really get out of this birth crisis, because they have been in this for the longest, okay? But yeah, that's about this video here. Goodbye.